We've seen Citizens United wreak havoc across our country in terms of political campaign finance. The dark money is just rampant everywhere. And, you know, I think it's funny that so many Democrats love to say, I'm not taking any PAC money, but then they're taking PAC money from people that agree with them. And they're just cleverly not saying that. They're saying, oh, no. I said, no, corporate PAC money. Well, where do you think that money comes from, friends?
Welcome, everybody, to the Closer to the Edge podcast, the anti-sleep aid for anyone sick of political self-censoring and hushed tones on the left-wing podcast at a time when we need to be loud.
So buckle the fuck up.
Yes, we are here. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Do I sound all right, or do I need to plug in headphones?
You sound good.
You always have me sounding good every week, Doug.
I do the best I can. The problem has been I'm not sounding good every week.
Well, you sound good every week. You could have bronchitis, and you still sound gold. So
I'll take it. So I'd like to talk about what's been going on the Closer to the Edge Substack and some stories I've been reading. I'd love to know about Heather Cox Richardson.
Heather Cox Richardson. If you don't know her, I don't know. You're living in a cave. But if you don't know her, she publishes, I think it's a daily newsletter where she recaps the news of the day. And she's a college professor, a historian, interviewed presidents. She has a wealth of knowledge. And, she approaches it's almost like having a librarian, they don't have to raise their voice. They can just kind of write it a certain way. And, she doesn't need to be bombastic, just factual. And she knows her history, so when it repeats itself, she can call it out. So she's an inspiration to many, and if you're not signed up for her newsletter, you should head on over to her Substack. It's Letters from an American. Check it out on Substack. She's incredible.
Got you. So basically, she's the opposite of me. No need to be bombastic.
Yeah, and me too. Yeah. And me as well, because I don't write that way, but I respect people that write that way. I think, just like a good singing group, you have to have, the baritones, the basses, the altos.
I like it. So here we are. You guys know what to do. You can go up there to, I'll take this off. You guys can go right up there. Hopefully it's pointing the correct direction. If not, will you see that QR code? That'll take you directly to Substack or the website itself, Closer to the Edge. Read the articles. We've been going in. I appreciate it as always, sir. Great writing. There's also other things that have been going on that I'd love to run past you, man.
Yes, please.
You game for some political endeavors today? No dildos. No dildos today.
No, well, not today, but tomorrow's a whole new day. I think we have a shipment of 500 coming in on the West Coast. I don't want to be too specific, but 500 coming in tomorrow, and potentially 4,000 more coming in.
I was gonna say, I happen to know somebody who says that they have a shipment of 4,000 coming in. They actually are using their farm as a storage space. Or was it a barn? Not a farm, a barn.
Do you have that audio clip?
Should we play it?
I think we should play the audio clip. And I think this audio is her explaining to her husband that she has offered up her barn as a storage facility for the resistance.
This is his first time hearing it.
Right,
all right, let's do this.
So I may have told someone that our barn can be used to store maybe a couple thousand dildos. Yeah.
Why?
Well, because I've always wanted to see how many I could fit in there at the same time.
Wait, before we go on with this, the poor husband or boyfriend says,
Why? Why?
What the fuck are you talking about?
No, but because where the fuck are you gonna put 4,000 dildos?
A couple thousand, not 4,000.
I know. I unless I brought the toy hauler. Dildos in the toy hauler. Unless I brought the toy hauler, I don't think I could transport 4,000 dildos.
Why you?
Who else has a barn? I said I offered.
Fuck, Lisa.
What? Are we in the resistance or not? You're like, I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Stockpiling for the next attack?
I didn't have dildos on my bingo card on my resistance bingo card. But they're all over it now. So we're gonna run a dildo farm out of our barn.
So I'm going to make sure that none of that will out her. I'm going to ask her first before we put it out. But Lord have mercy, I hope everybody gets to hear that, because the poor guy's surprised. He was like, why you? She's like, I offered, man. Are we in the resistance or not?
Yep. And I liked how he did the really husband-like thing and just like corrected the math, because he was already thinking about it, and she said a couple thousand at the start, and then it became 4,000, and he was instantly like, no, you said 2,000.
You said a couple thousand.
Yeah, like it was a very. But
she tried to slip 2,000 more in there on the slide.
What she meant was a couple thousand, but you know,
right. A couple squared. Squared. Right.
Yeah, it's exponential. It's exponential, this dildo distribution business. So, but today, to get back to your question, I'm not doing anything with rubber cocks today.
All right. Well, I have some serious stuff going on. Last night I put out a video with some pretty dark news. And our guest today is probably the perfect person to ask to give insight on this, to let us know exactly what it means. But yesterday we found out that they were sending something called the Doomsday plane, the E-6B Mercury, to the Middle East. I personally wanted to make sure that I wasn't hearing this wrong. This plane, as far as I know and have found out so far, is the plane that does the communications with submarines that have nukes. And this is, from what I hear, in case all else fails and there's nothing else left, the last thing you can do is that at least this plane can get the message to a hidden submarine to send off the nuke. You lost everything, and this thing will go ahead and give the final retaliation or the blow to end it all.
What does that mean, that you lost everything?
Well, you have no more bases. There's no more chain of command. The president can't get there or is unable to make decisions. The last thing to do, and so that's what I'm hearing. As someone who's been in the military, I can tell you that something with that kind of communications level can still be used for other communications. But from what I hear, that's what it's used for. It's the last line of defense of ending it, because your bases are gone, the people are gone, chain of command is gone, and you can still send one last message via this plane. Now, that's why I want someone in the Air Force to clarify. It seems dire. On the other hand, it's not called the Doomsday plane for nothing. So even whatever it is, I need to know what the hell is going on, because we're not getting any information from over there. Have you noticed? All of the news has been about, whether or not we should be there. But like in all other wars that are happening, there's news from the ground of like what's happening. We're getting sparse once a day. Hey, a bomb dropped on this place. Really? They've been at war for the past 7 days. And this one thing you found? What's happening? Like, I'm hearing that the bases are being blown up everywhere, in every place. It feels like when you hear about something like this, it just makes it seem more dire Why aren't we talking about it? Was my question. Have you heard about this? Have you seen this? You see, I'll try to put
I have
the
not heard
screenshot
about
up.
the Doomsday plane. I have heard that it's raining black because they're blowing up the refineries. I have heard that they're blowing up the water desalination plants. So millions of people are going to be without water. I'm really scared for what's going to happen.
So here's the thing. The whole point of mutually assured destruction is that it is mutually assured. And I still don't believe that someone's going to sit there and actually drop a nuke. I think that we have ham-fisted children in diapers for heads of state here, and a drunkard in charge of the military. And I have a feeling that they're pulling this stuff out to try to look tough. Iran is not scared. They don't really care. Anybody who would shoot their own people in the streets for having a protest, and not like us, where it's one or two at a time, but can line them up and shoot them according to reports, also isn't scared when you threaten to kill their people as well.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, they just care about their resources
Yeah.
and their power. And that's where, I don't know. I mean, obviously, Ayatollah and Iran, the regime over there is nothing to defend. But when they killed off the Ayatollah, now his son is in charge, and his son is the new leader. And the country is rallying behind him. I would say, much like after this country was attacked in 9/11 and everyone kind of, rallied around each other. Maybe that's an unfair comparison, but I feel like Trump is out. It looks like almost united Iran in the common cause of fighting off.
Yet another monster, another Western devil. And the other problem is when you had the chance to gain some sort of a soft power, just like you got rid of USA, everything that these people do are just the most childish, short-sighted foolishness, and you have no plan. When you had the chance to gain some sort of soft power, seeing that the people there wanted change, seeing the people there were going up against the regime, instead of finding ways to help them do that. Right. The first thing you do is you side with the other people who've wanted them dead for 40 years. Here's the big thing, and I'm just gonna say this. I've said it before. I have friends who see me as think I'm weird because they know people who were dancing in the streets when we bombed Iran. They were happy to be liberated and from a dictatorship. And my response is always, I understand. Can you imagine, though, being liberated from a dictatorship by a dictator who's wanted you dead for 40 years? It may feel good now that you bombed the first guy until they start carpet bombing the rest of you. Right? Like, I understand. It feels good now because you where you were wasn't good. But I promise you that Israel's not the one to come to your rescue. And America had the chance to gain goodwill, to gain some soft power and not have to rely on Israel for all of our allyship. That doesn't have to deal with underdealing in money by actually helping them, actually aiding them. And the quick response from a ham-fisted orange paper statue was bomb them. And they'll call us heroes. But like I said, about this plane, about this so-called doomsday plane, about the whole thing, the person who we have today, guys, I'm sorry to bring everything down after such a great dildo-tastic intro.
There are more important things than dildos, for sure.
They're all, at least as important. And the person who we have today is actually someone who is a veteran of the Air Force, I believe, and he's running for Congress in Missouri. He is simply, from everything that I've seen, I've interviewed him before on my other station, He is a firebrand. He is knowledgeable, and he can help us decipher through some of this. I'm hoping, and that's why we have someone like him on. So we're not just out here scaring you guys. I welcome to you, Jordan Herrera.
Hey, Doug. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Man, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. I believe that you might be just the perfect person to help us talk about these crazy things that we're talking about. Your military history, your way of breaking things down, I found to be superb, and the fact that you are an Air Force vet too, right?
Yes, that's correct. I served just under 16 years in the United States Air Force as a biomedical or clinical engineer, depending on what part of my career we're talking about. But at the end of my career, I was responsible for the healthcare facility at Whiteman Air Force Base, guiding us through COVID pandemic relief. So I was our emergency management and preparedness officer. But not only was I responsible for Whiteman, I was also the senior clinical engineer for Air Force Global Strike Command, meaning like all of our bomber bases, 8 of our bomber bases fell underneath me, and all of our clinical operations in terms of clinical engineering, biomedical engineering, patient safety, that sort of stuff fell underneath me. So that's what I did in the Air Force. But I was part of the 1 in 20. 1 in 20 who got burnt down on healthcare during 2020 and 2022. So during that period of time, I realized like I was done with healthcare, and I decided to pursue a career in law. So I separated medically after PTSD, kind of like made the decision pretty clear for me. And then after I separated out and retired medically, I went to law school, became a constitutional lawyer, and I've been practicing as an assistant attorney general here at the state of Missouri until I spoke up in resistance against ICE. And at that point, Andrew Bailey, while he was still our AG, he then decided to fire me for standing up and using my voice, that same constitutional right I stood on the battlefield of Iraq and Afghanistan for. He saw fit to terminate me and make my life a little harder. Well, He thought he was going to silence me, and he was not successful. Here I am, still running for Congress, representing the 4th.
If he had just let you speak, it might not be as big as it's about to be, because you've got to win this. Despite the gerrymandering going on. I don't know if you know, Rook T. Winchester is my partner here.
I'm hiding behind the circle right now. But so when you say you spoke up against ICE, can you say more about specifically what you said?
Yeah,
what got under his skin?
Oh man! So what had happened was there were a few local leaders who were organizing a rally last year, and they started organizing the evening of June 8th, and it was just sort of a pop-up sort of protest, a resistance against ICE. In solidarity with Los Angeles. And if you remember at the time in Los Angeles, there was a large group of Latino men and women who kind of like had it was sort of a hip hop sort of like show or whatever. They had a video that was walking down a main street in Los Angeles. And it was a powerful video. So I think it was sort of inspired by that. But these 2 local leaders were struggling to find people and speakers. And so they had reached out to me, being Hispanic and running for Congress. I was invited to come out there and give my perspective on the situation. And so this was before, all the 200 documented assaults that have taken place in ICE facilities. This is before 39 people have been murdered by ICE. This is before all of this even began. This is very much at the beginning. So June of 2025, when ICE is just really rolling out. And at this time, CCOT was also a big storyline still, and the folks that we sent down to El Salvador. And so just to put it into perspective, like we're much further along now than where we were back then. And so all I did was speak up at the World War I Museum. And like I said, we started organizing on June 8th, the evening. The event was held on the evening of June 10th. So we had only 2 days to prepare ourselves. And we had roughly between 800 and 1,100 participants from across Kansas City metro area arrive at the World War I Museum. We did a quiet march through the historically Hispanic area, the west side of our city. And then we looped back around to Union Station and we dispersed from there. It was a peaceful protest. Nobody was hurt. Like I said, with like 2 days, almost 1,100 people there, at our biggest count. we did really, really well. Well, unfortunately, Andrew Bailey saw me on the news that night, and it was funny. I saw him give a counter message, and his message was, we'll stand up for constitutional rights, but we'll never stand up for civil disobedience or civil unrest. And I just felt, in that moment, like, how dare you? I felt the first political spin, and within 2 days, I was terminated.
So constitutional rights, but no civil disobedience or unrest.
Isn't that funny? That part's not in that amendment.
I mean,
not in the first the Bill of Rights here. It's not in there.
I mean,
for
isn't
freedom
that
of speech only if there's no civil disobedience. In fact, being a constitutional lawyer, there are limits on the First Amendment. Like, you can't go around inciting violence. You can't go around shouting obscenity. Those are constitutionally not permissible.
But assembling to redress grievances.
Yeah. Civil
there.
Disobedience and civil unrest is absolutely contained within your First Amendment rights.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing here. And I'm glad that people are showing themselves, not just that Attorney General, but this seems like the entire left and right spectrum, everyone in this moment has been showing who they are. The Democrats have failed, wildly failed in this moment. The Republicans have further proven that they are the largest white supremacist organization in the world. Largest and most heavily funded white supremacist terrorist organization in the world is the Republican Party, period. But all of this now, I think, is going to lead to something better. When this is all over with, when the fight is done, and it will be a fight, we can't go back to the same thing. Yeah. And I think everybody who's in the fight realizes that. Everybody who's being peeled off from MAGA realizes that. When it comes back, we're going to need different type of Democratic Party. We're going to need a different type of government and laws that will have to be reframed and reworked, because we saw how quickly they broke. Can you talk about what comes next? When you get elected, you're going to be presumably a part of making that happen. Anything that you can talk about what is next, not just for a Democratic Party, but these changes that need to happen, the walls that need to be rebuilt, the guardrails that need to be stronger, right?
Yeah.
What's next? And how do we bring it?
No, I think you're raising a lot of great questions. So first, we need to re-examine our Supreme Court. I think it starts there. And the reason why I'm saying that is we have a couple of justices on the bench right now that are ripe for impeachment. They have done some pretty terrible, awful things. They've made some horrible decisions, which are clearly bought and paid for. And just to put a finer point on it, he's from Nebraska also. Mr. Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito deserve to have at least the ire of scrutiny on them. There's numerous instances where Mr. Clarence Thomas's own wife has taken bribes from the Republican Party, and yet decisions come down from the bench that clearly would go in their favor. We've seen Citizens United wreak havoc across our country in terms of political campaign finance, and the dark money is just rampant everywhere. And I think it's funny that so many Democrats love to say, I'm not taking any PAC money, but then they're taking PAC money from people that agree with them. And they're cleverly not saying that. They're saying, oh, no. I said, no, corporate PAC money. Well, where do you think that money comes from, friend? Somebody has a corporation tied in there. I don't care if it's DSA money or not. I don't care if it's PSL money or not. If it's coming from a PAC, someone else with more money than you, that you never know, that you'll never meet, has just bought you. And I'm not interested in that. So how do we fix our government, though, moving forward is a great question.
It's a lot, I'm sure, but just a few things that you can think of.
Yeah, well, I'm a constitutional modernist, so I'll argue that our Constitution is not up to date, and most of America would agree with me that we need some updates. So when we set out as a nation in the Declaration of Independence, and of course, my phone is right next door, And I'll grab that here in just a second. But when we set out and formed our Declaration of Independence, we said there are three inalienable rights, right? Endowed by our Creator. Rights, R-I-T or R-I-G-H-T-S. They are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So if we are going to pursue these inalienable rights, let's codify them into the Constitution. Finally, so when we're talking about life, it's healthcare for all. It's Medicare for all. Let's ensure that every American citizen under the Constitution has access to quality healthcare. It's a minimum. It's an infrastructural need for everyday life in America. And when the two biggest reasons why people are going into homelessness today, the second biggest reason is healthcare costs. The number one is housing costs. Healthcare is absolutely a right. We need to make sure that we are fighting for that through and through. So that's life. Liberty. We need to amend our 13th Amendment, ban all forms of servitude, whether you're imprisoned or not. We need to get rid of all non-
Whoa. You mean stop slavery? You're going too far, sir. You're going too far.
I know I'm going to get shot one day, but I already got a target on my back. I already got a target on my back.
Go ahead.
We got to get rid of this thing, though. And that's how we also get rid of for-profit prisons. You know, if there's no way for them to exploit human labor on 10 cents on the hour, they're not going to be interested, right? So pursuit of happiness, we need to ensure that every American has access to affordable, thorough, and quality education, whether it's at public education levels or access to higher levels of education. I believe I have a plan to not only fix our public education system, or at least address it in terms of funding, but also our higher education system and how it's inaccessible, at least financially, for millions of students across our country. I have three more that are related to privacy. They cover bodily autonomy, marriage, and they cover your digital privacy. And last, the Seventh Amendment, I would argue we need in our Constitution to modernize it, is term limits.
Man, this is why I love talking to you, man. The hope always springs back. We just got done talking about might be nuclear war, and I was ready to fall out. And every time I speak to you,
yes,
I
sir.
know that, I mean, we weren't even planning on going here. Just freestyle off the top. And you have thought about it. There's something there for you that we can grab on. It's hopeful to see. Man, I appreciate those answers, and I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Do you want to hear something completely crazy?
Yeah.
Rook, are you guys pretty familiar with American history?
Yes.
You guys like it a lot? I'm assuming on this podcast you guys talk about it.
Yeah, well, I'm not as familiar as Heather Cox Richardson, but I'm fairly knowledgeable.
So you guys for sure have heard of the Declaration of Independence, though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, sir.
Did you know our Declaration of Independence defines what tyranny is?
Yes, I heard that, but I'd love to hear more from you. I've since forgot. I've heard that, though.
Okay, so just reading verbatim from the Declaration of Independence, you can check this word for word. I am not making this up. It's a very publicly available document. 250 years ago, our founding fathers wrote down what tyranny looks like. This is in the Declaration of Independence signed July 4, 1776. They're describing a tyrant or tyranny. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent and superior to the civil power. He is quartering large bodies of armed troops among us throughout our towns without local consent, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world through sweeping tariffs and economic decrees imposed without representation, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a fair trial or due process, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress, and in the most humble of terms, our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is no longer fit to be a ruler of free people.
Wowza.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? Our founders told us exactly what a tyrant is, what we needed to break free from. And I read it the other day, and I was like, well, wouldn't you believe it?
250 years ago, Thomas Jefferson, correct?
Correct.
That
And
is-
James Madison. We don't know who's James Madison, Monroe, and Jefferson all had parts in it, but Jefferson was the largest contributor. Yes.
So, not only like, okay, yeah, that's a wowzer. Yeah, that's a learn from history moment. That is verbatim. It's hard to find a way to be as clear as that. If I didn't know anything about the Declaration, and someone said, write down everything that Trump is doing, his administration, that you find wrong, or in your reasoning makes
Right.
America worse, you would just say all of those things, having never known it.
Well,
I mean,
I could republish that right now, and without saying it was the Declaration of Independence, people would think that you were writing about Trump in 2026.
I think you should.
Please do.
As a matter of fact, do that, Rook. Write it down. Don't say what it is.
Right.
And just be like, man, we hate Trump because such and such and such and such, all the way down to the end. And
If you go to my page, it's up there. It's on my page. There's a graphic with it as well.
I'll
And
go
I
check.
put in brackets where like for pretended offenses, he has sent us to be overseas for pretended offenses. By that part, I'm drawing directly a linear line here where he sent, Abrego Garcia, an American, out of our country. He sent veterans out of our country. He sent Americans to detention centers. A 15-year-old autistic boy was just in a detention center for 50 days. He's an American, and he was separated from his mother.
that is every time.
Atrocious.
Yeah.
Absolutely atrocious. And she's an American too. The only reason why he was picked up was because he was brown. And the only reason why he couldn't defend himself or speak up is because he's autistic.
Jesus.
That's awful. That's awful. I would like to learn more about that case. And the fact that they don't have habeas corpus. I mean, you can really see where the Bill of Rights came from after listening to that. I mean, so many of the Bill of Rights are wrapped specifically around those issues.
So, I mean, I could go into what's happening in Texas, where teenage girls are held in places that nobody can see and with no windows, and we're wondering what the hell is going on. How come the teenage girls are separated with no windows, nobody can find out where they are, when we have an entire government full of PDOs, right? And many of the same people who are being arrested and going to jail for that were the same people who came back from January 6th after being pardoned, who are the same people who applied to be ICE agents.
Right.
I find that concerning. There's a lot of that. But I especially wanted to talk, you completely blew me away with that other stuff. But the reason why I really wanted you here is because of a military background and something new that I found out last night that I'm trying to get clarity on, that I'm trying to provide clarity on for the people. The Doomsday plane. This is I just want to make sure I say it right. The E6B, the E6B Mercury, right? What it's used for. I also found out from sources in outside of the country who I've been working with. The same right here, Car for Ukraine. The same people who work with the Ukrainian military, and a lot of their news is where I get this stuff from because America won't give it to me. But that plane has been sent to 3 different places, and some of it supposedly friendly to help with the Arctic war games that are going on, Arctic Fury or whatever it is. And one of them was sent to be over in Iran's backyard. This is scary. This plane, do you know anything about it? Do you know what it means, this doomsday thing, and really what it's used for?
I'm looking it up right now. Just seeing it's a Navy asset, so it looks like it's something that I helped.
Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Well, I can tell you this is not a nuclear asset. It's not part of our triad. The Navy does have a piece of it, but it looks like this type of aircraft is used as a mobile command center or something we would use for reconnaissance, intelligence gathering. We have the same thing in the Air Force. We would call it I believe it's called a WAC, or it's a you can use it for weather. I think that's actually for weather. Maybe that's a weather radar system, but it's high altitude intelligence gathering. So this is why you would want these over Iran, over Iraq, or any area of operations, right? There's a couple of things. Like, not only can we see other people's aircraft in the aerospace that maybe radar isn't picking up. Like, for example, our B-2 Spirit bomber is not going to show up on someone else's cockpit, dash or whatever, because, well, it's intended to not. So there are stealth aircraft throughout the world. We're not the only nation that has something like that. So that's why we fly at those ultra high speeds, or high altitudes, so that way we have an even larger view down. So it just depends on what you're doing with the aircraft. So in this particular instance, it's probably going to be used to maintain air superiority. And it's also going to be used, since this is a naval asset, it's probably going to be used to make sure that there's the air superiority between the naval ship space, wherever it's launching and sending anything else from, because that might be a part of the triad. So say they do launch missiles from a warship, it's going to most likely either be coming out of the Persian Gulf or very, very near, like flying from out of the Mediterranean. I would imagine if we were putting missiles on warships, it's going to be coming into the Persian Gulf, out of the Fifth Fleet there in Bahrain.
So that's exactly that last part is exactly what they said. The people who so I'm gonna pull it up here so you can also see it with me. The idea of this plane is to be able to send, in last resort, the messages to hidden ships. And that's what this specific version of this plane is for, to send the message to the ships for nuclear launch, whatever, like in case of last resort.
Is it one of those planes that you refuel while it's in the air? Is it?
It looks like it probably could. I mean, many of those have been outfitted to do that. It's not just fighter jets that they refuel in the air. However, your KC-135s, those are your air refuel, or KC-10s, those are your air refuelers. They normally do that for like fighter jets and stuff like that, but they can for those long withstanding, like those assets that are in the aerospace for greater than 24 hours. Absolutely. That would be something that you would use that for.
Yeah, calling it the Doomsday plane makes me think like there's just been a nuclear apocalypse and the only place to live is in the Doomsday plane. Like,
I mean, I don't want to scare you guys when I say this, but I was stationed in Turkey, and the entire time I've been there, like, I was there in 2010 and 11, and we've had Jupiter missiles in Turkey since the 60s. There was part of the Cuban Missile Crisis with Kennedy. So during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the reason why the Russians were moving missiles over to Cuba to begin with, and the Bay of Pigs and all of that was happening, right, was because we moved our Jupiter missiles to Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. And I'm not giving away national secrets. This is all online. But so we've had our Jupiter missiles in Turkey pointed at Russia and Moscow for a very, very long time. We are within strike distance also from Turkey to Iran. So geopolitically and in terms of like the dominance of the terrain there, we still maintain dominance. Now, part of the Cold War, when we're going through the drawdown, right, part of the Cold War was that we could no longer keep our missiles and our nuclear assets along with the delivery assets. So you're going to see the B-2 Spirit bomber coming from Whiteman Air Force Base going somewhere else like Barksdale or Ellsworth to go and pick up the munitions to then go to another place and pick up the triggering device, like, say, Turkey or Germany, and then dropping those warheads. It's a multi-phase process for a reason. It gives the opportunity to draw down and de-escalate before we use nuclear arms. So with this particular asset, if it were to be applied or used for any kind of nuclear assets, one, you're maintaining air dominance, but also they're keeping a live track of where things are at in country. So say you had an intercontinental ballistic missile fired from a submarine, which is part of our triad, that's more than likely where it's going to come from. So if we start to see nuclear subs move into the region and that aircraft, that's the time when everybody needs to panic.
Okay, so that's exactly it. The American E-6B Mercury is positioned over the Persian Gulf. The E-6 Mercury is not a fighter jet. It carries no weapons. It exists for one single purpose, to ensure that if all else fails, if ground command centers are destroyed, if satellites are blinded, and if the president and the entire chain of command is gone, the order to launch the U.S. nuclear arsenal can still be transmitted to submarines hidden in the ocean. This one's call sign is the Looking Glass.
I'm so smart.
And do we know where our nuclear subs are right now?
I cannot give you that information, and I
Right.
doubt anybody.
I doubt anybody who
that
knows
would be top
can.
class. Like,
Right. That's the whole point,
look,
right?
if anyone on the FBI or NSA is listening now, I'm out. I don't know.
I don't know nothing.
I don't
And
know
here's
nothing.
the deal. If
Yeah.
you told me, you would be
Keep me alive.
ridiculous. Yeah, you told me online, you'd be a traitor at that moment. So I I'm not dumb enough to do that. My only problem is now, and so this is the other half of that. If
I can't tell you one thing though. They
Go ahead.
are in the Persian Gulf because we know that they've already taken out an Iranian warship by submarine. That hasn't happened in over 50, 60 years.
Yeah,
they're there.
I believe they did that to let us know, because Trump likes, more importantly than safety, and Hegseth, even more importantly than his alcohol, is this idea to show power, right? And look what we have. I'm showing you what we have. I didn't say too much though after telling the whole thing, right? They're children. And so there's the other side of this is, thank you for all of that. I think that'll help ease some tensions in some minds. We do know that the submarines are there, but we also know that this can be something that is more normal than we originally thought when seeing this yesterday, right?
Yeah, I think it's completely natural for it to raise, the hairs on the back of your neck, because it is unusual. It is unusual. It's also unusual to have this happening with Iran when we have such conflicting information, and happy to go into that. But I mean, if we're going to believe in this whole developing technology, I'm in the show me state.
Yeah.
Show me.
Yep.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No, that's not going to happen.
Speaking of, there was a school that was hit, and I heard, read, obviously I'm not on the inside and I can't say for sure, but I heard that artificial intelligence was involved in the selection of that target, or possibly or may have been. But I was curious on your thoughts on using artificial intelligence within the military.
100%, 1,000,000%, doubling, tripling down on this. Do not agree with it. It is the dumbest, worst decision ever. And I'm not just grabbing props, I promise. But I am going to grab something real quick from here.
Go ahead.
This. It's it's because it's one thing. I do have a lot of knowledge in this area because I have a degree in U.S. military history studying battle and strategy. I thought I was going to be a 30-year chief master sergeant. I have a bachelor's in this area. Nobody has a bachelor's in war, but this guy does.
That's what's up.
So when I'm saying like what I'm talking about right now, it's coming from a learned perspective. What we're seeing in Iran does not make sense. This idea, can you remind me, Rook, what was your question again?
Well, just on your feelings on using artificial intelligence.
Thank you. So if anybody has ever read anything to do with war, they would have read On War by Karl von Clausewitz. And he tells us in this manifesto that war is the last diplomatic tool you use when all other diplomatic resources and tools have been exhausted. We are simply
politics by other means. That's
exactly that. So when we're talking about AI choosing your target leaves no room for negotiation. It means that you left an algorithm to do your thinking for you. And worse yet, you programmed an algorithm as if it was like the set it and forget it, leave it on the cook stop or leave it on your countertop cooking device. That's not how you deal with warfare. That's not how you win in warfare either. I mean, Sun Tzu would never say, go ahead and use a tool that's going to indiscriminately choose your targets and then hopefully you get it right. That is not going to be found in the art of war as a tenet by any means. Sun Tzu had a more strategic way of looking at things of you choose your targets specifically, and we believe in causing the least amount of collateral damage. I can't remember the number of children who were hurt. It was a large number, though. We're
looking at 170 who were mostly children, they said. There's also this idea that it was a double tap, which means they went back to make sure that the people who were coming to save them were also gone.
I'm glad you said that, because this raises the overall more alarming issue, more so than the school. If you notice, there were shadow designs of paint of planes that were on the Iranian tarmac or airfield. We bombed those. We bombed those shadows.
Yeah.
They were painted shadows. They were just decoys, and we bombed those. And then we also claimed in June of 2025 that we bombed all of Iran's nuclear facilities such that they were completely and totally obliterated. Those were the president's own words, backed up by Hegseth and my Congressman Alford, all said completely and totally obliterated. And I remember because I said, that's the dumbest fucking word I've ever heard, and I've never seen a military person use. Sorry, I dropped the F word.
It's okay, you're on the right podcast.
Language. That is so stupid to talk about war in such terms. And so here's what I'm drawing with all of this. All right. Either we missed and then here in June of 2025, we then see imagery of enriched uranium being moved. So I'm going to ask a couple of hypotheticals as we go along this way of answering the AI question. June of 2025, we missed the targets. When does the United States ever miss a nuclear target of that importance? We don't. And if we do miss, we go back for what you just said, Doug, a double tap. We make sure we get the asset. Then we saw it being convoyed away. When do we let anybody just convoy enriched uranium away?
Well, now I've heard rumors that we're going to send troops in to, I don't know, grab the enriched uranium, and I don't know.
I have a feeling that's where he's going with it. I have a feeling we're going somewhere with this. So remember, I'm a
guy who I bought into weapons of mass destruction. I never freaking saw them. So here's my point.
Keep on going.
The United States doesn't miss targets, right? We definitely don't let people convoy targets away. And now they're saying they have the capability and the technology to develop a missile that could hit Israel. And apparently we all need to care. Okay, well, even if that were true, we'll stipulate that that's true. We'll stipulate that they have the technology. Then you missed. You missed last year, and then you lied to the American people. So why should we believe that you can hit the target this time and also tell us the truth? You only miss your target because of bad planning, bad operations, bad intel. It's not because of bad people or bad pilots. It's because the United States government didn't do its job correctly. That's how you miss targets. Cut to today. We have 3 F-15s that were shot out of the sky in just less than 2 weeks ago when this whole thing started. 3 of them shot out of the sky by friendly fire. That only happens when there's improper planning, improper communication, improper operations, a rush job. No one's talking to one another. That only happens when there's no plan, no strategy, okay? Now we're talking about 18 critically wounded Americans, 6 dead Americans, and half of the naval fleet in Bahrain, half of the 5th fleet in Bahrain has been either destroyed or the buildings have been damaged such that we don't even know the damage. Here, I'm just going to give you the numbers in 1 week of war with Iran. $1.5 billion of bombs dropped in Iran in the first 2 days. $1.5 billion. $1.7 billion shot to just maintain the dome. $1.7 billion. That's $3.2 billion in just munitions alone. There's $30 million in air superiority already spent, $15 million already spent on naval superiority. And here's the numbers from Iraq and Afghanistan, what I live with, the community I talk to. In 2 decades, we never raised one revenue tax to pay for the wars themselves or the people who served in those said wars. Never raised a single revenue tax to take care of the people who've been injured. And here's the result. 300 to 600,000 Americans today are living with PTSD. 7,000 Americans died in the war. Do you know how many died here at home after it? 30,000. 30,000 people have killed themselves.
Jesus Christ.
30,000. So yeah, 7 died over there in country. The war didn't end there. We brought it back home. 30,000 have already died. So when we're throwing people at the problem, we have to understand there needs to be a plan. There needs to be a strategy. And if you didn't go and get congressional authorization, it's because you're lying. You don't have the data. You don't have the information. And I remember believing in that crap under Bush, Condoleezza Rice, and unfortunately, my guy Colin Powell was a part of it.
Man.
So what can Congress do? If you were in Congress right now, or if you could tell Congress what to do?
Woo!
Up this.
No, that's a great question. And here's the message that I give to everybody. Read this little pamphlet here. This is the Constitution of the United States. It's literally like a 30-minute read. It takes no time. Break it up into parts. But in particular, Article 1, right here. Article 1, it begins our Constitution. It is the beginning. And it is the Congress. Now, I need people to understand Congress isn't the important word here. It's what Congress represents. It is a representative body of the people. The people are in Article 1. You, Americans, are the voice of Article 1, not an elected representative, not a senator, not any of that crap, not a governor. It is you, the people, that make up Article 1. And in Article 1, Section 8, that's where the war powers are for our Congress. We get to determine when we go to war, what it needs to look like, when we need to be done with it, and how much it's going to cost. All of those things are left to the people, not the president. The president is in Article 2, Section 2, and he needs to be reminded of it. That's what Article 1 duties and responsibilities are, is to stand up and be the voice of the people to ensure that we don't have a tyrant, as described in the Declaration of Independence, take over the United States of America. That is why the founders left Article 1 to the people, and the president serves the people. It will always answer to the people. That's why he is in Article 2, or she.
So we just need to remind him? Is that just send out a quick note over there and just say, hey.
That comes in the form of a vote. And, you know, when we talk about the midterms this year, I think it's important that we lay out the land a little bit. Now, I am a battle planner and a strategic thinker in that way, so my brain is literally trained to think this way. If I had a federal police force that was across the United States that claimed to have absolute immunity, and it's been using different transportation methods, trains, convoy, aircraft, but now they're also setting up at least 12 or 13 detention facilities across the United States for anywhere from around 10 to 20,000 people per detention facility. Why do we need all that? Why do we need all that? Now, I'm looking at history, right? I have a degree also in political science. I studied world history as well. When I look at world history, I'm looking for where is our Reichstag fire going to be?
Right.
And if anyone knows the Reichstag fire, or for those in your audience who may not know, the Reichstag fire is when the Third Reich, the Nazi party at this point in Germany, they are a party, they burned down their legislature. They burned down their Congress. I don't know if we're going to see our Hall of Congress actually burned to the ground, but it's going to be rendered more ineffective. Something is going to happen. I mean, they've already danced around martial law. They've danced around suspending elections and federalizing them. They're not kidding. They are not kidding. It is not a joke. It is not funny. And when you look at the map now and see this man has a police force that is uniformed and has military assets all across the country, along with detention centers that can hold up to 10,000, 20,000 people per detention facility.
Warehouse them, literally.
What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like somebody who's posturing to deport people in our country? Or does it sound like somebody who's getting ready to jail a lot of people in our country?
The biggest thing is when you say that, I want people to remember there's a reason why they had to have the camps in Poland.
Yeah.
Right? So...
well,
this is the best they could do because the people who are next to us aren't the weaklings that we hoped they would be, that they hoped they would be. The fact that these detention centers are in our place, in our land, I would never ask a congressman to approve or say anything, but that means that they're subject to the people, whether they like it or not. So at some point, that's why they couldn't hold it where they were. At some point, there's an idea of the pitchfork, and if you get the point. So I can promise you that when they do that, the only people that will be able to stop it is the people who live next to it. Now, I'll stop there. On the other hand, there's another point that I think I want to drive home, and I want you to drive it home. This happens because of a Congress that just voted down the War Powers Act that would have stopped this time. This only happens because of a Congress that approved a drunkard for the head of the military. This only happens because of a Congress that gave more money to Israel than they did to healthcare. This coming up election in November, we have got to galvanize around the Herreras, the Bree Woodsons. We've got to galvanize around the Cat Abgodalis. We've got to galvanize. We have got to put enough new people in there in the numbers that they matter so that something can be done, including clauses of impeachment, including articles of impeachment. What say you?
Oh, absolutely. I kind of led our conversation off with who I want to impeach, with Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, if for no other reason to bring investigations against them. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole slew of candidates ripe for impeachment. Well, fortunately, Noam is out of her position, thank goodness. And I hope that Mr. Robert F. Kennedy will follow shortly thereafter. He is not fit for his office. I'm sorry, but if you're sweating to the oldies with the oldies and Asana and Kid Rock, come on. This is disgusting. Maybe that's their version of how to get people on a diet, is to just show some old nasty men doing gross things. It made me lose my appetite too.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was absolutely gross.
Or Linda McMahon running our Small Business Administration. At the beginning of December, this was one of the things that's killing minority businesses right now. 43,000 minority businesses have been already impacted by this. But at the beginning of December, the Small Business Administration sent out a requirement that now small businesses needed to comply with financial requirements that large corporations already were complying with, meaning they had to produce up to 5 years of financial reports and had to have all of this other stuff. Basically, you have to have the same arm as a large corporation to provide all of that accounting information. And they gave small business owners 3 weeks to comply, or they would be booted from the program. There are so many instances of situations like that. You'll see the Republican Party argue and say, yes, we're gonna support the American Workforce Act and restore collective bargaining agreement rights to 380,000 federal workers. And while they did get it passed and moved it forward, my congressman didn't. It's still not moved forward. It's not become law. It's just moved out of the House. And now we see the result, why it stalled, right? The NTEU, a federal union, just lost their contract nationally. So that's the IRS, by the way. That's the IRS. And we're in heavy tax season right now. Yep. So, there is a reason why that was probably done, because I don't think he wants to return money to Americans. I think they're trying to hold on to that money. Yep. This is also the most expensive government we've ever had. It was already the most expensive at $1.2 trillion, and that was the authorized budget by Congress. But because of tariffs and because of these wars, we're already looking at $1.6 to $1.8 trillion for 1 year, by the way. 1 year of his government.
Yeah, we have people buying. I know it seems funny, guys. It seems like we've been in this nightmare for like a decade, That's only because he was president before, but that was 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago. That's why it feels like that, guys. He's only been back in office for 1 year. Biden created almost 1 million jobs at this time in his more than 1 million jobs by this time in his presidency. We have lost. We've lost. I think we've created because they've stopped counting the what you call it, the unemployment rate. They just stopped counting it. We don't know what it is.
Well, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but they actually misreported December's numbers because they said that they had gained something, a couple 100,000 jobs in December or something like that. Well, then they had to clarify the reporting, and they had actually lost like 17,000 jobs nationally. And then last month was another negative number, 26, I think. We lost 26,000, 21,000, somewhere in there, jobs.
Wow.
They have 2 months in 1 3-month period where you have negative jobs reports. Like,
bro,
doesn't happen under Democrats like this.
Just saying.
And he also just bombed Ecuador.
Yes, I reported on that, and they said that everybody else and all the reporting is like, well, it was a joint strike. Ecuador asked them to come in, and I said, here's the deal, man. If you're in there with Ecuador bombing their narco terrorists, which is a name which is made up, bombing those people, it's only because Ecuador isn't big enough to fight back when you say, I'm coming there to bomb your terrorists. I'm coming there to take something. The Ecuador is going to say, you know what? We'll work with you as long as you don't do to me what you did to the homeboy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine. You know who won't do that is Cuba, where there's other drugs at. It's Colombia, where the actual drugs are made and grown. You know who won't do that is the places where we would actually do something if you were to do something like that. Not that you should, because it's not our business. We need to fix what we have here to stop the supply side. I mean, to stop the the demand side, right? But anyway, yeah, I saw that. I couldn't believe it. Like, we're not even done with. How many wars are we in at the moment? And we're bombing Ecuador?
Like, and ultimately goes back to this. Americans are at risk of losing their homes. They've already lost a great deal of opportunity in their future. Their healthcare is at risk. Their education is damn near gone. And there's rampant food insecurity across the nation. Meanwhile, this president is still building a ballroom, and he is sending us to war. He is using Orwellian language like it's directly from 1984, the book, where it says war is peace. He's saying what? Peace through strength?
Mm-hmm.
What the is this? It's just sort of like you hear about little boys playing army.
G.I.
And that's
Joe.
what these men are doing. They're little boys playing. You don't need a bomb to take out narco terrorists. You need drug and addiction missions. You don't need to wipe out an entire village or devastate an entire group, because how much are those bombs?
Every one of them.
Multi-million-dollar assets.
Every one of them.
And is it worth it? No. Now, I do think we do need to be doing nation building with Central and South America, but that's not in the form that I would be doing it in. Bombing people and just causing chaos and destruction is not the right answer. I do think we need to be extremely serious about the drugs that do come into our country, but we also need to be honest. The reason why those governments are destabilized, the reason why there's rampant crime in Ecuador, El Salvador, Colombia, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, is because we went in there through the 1950s and the 1980s and we destabilized their government. We put in our own despots. We put in our own people. And I don't know why we're doing this now. When we take out leaders from a country and install our own people, it gets worse. That's what's going to happen again to Venezuela after Maduro and his government has been removed. It's already happened.
And to bring it full circle, yeah, that's why we're in Iran again.
Right.
We did this. We did this.
I'll say this also, like, just from a strategic standpoint, if I were Russia and China, this is exactly what I need the president of the United States to do. I need you to exhaust your military. I need you to exhaust your already limited resources. Keep dropping them over in the Middle East. I don't give a shit. They don't care about the Middle East, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know Iran is a proxy state of Iran's a proxy state of Russia and China. Yet they're not attacking the United States. They're just letting it happen. There is a reason, guys. Like, because if we're distracted with Iran and Israel and everything happening there, you know where we're not? We're not in Ukraine. Yep. We're not on the western front of Europe. In fact, we've already provoked a war in Greenland, which drew troops from the Western countries in Europe to Greenland, giving basically Putin a double victory without us having to send a single shot across the bow. We've moved troops out of Europe, which is what Putin wants. We've made our relationship with NATO so fragile it's ready to break. In fact, in our last strategic document from the country, we all but denigrated Europe. You know, they're ready to be done with us. They even mobilized troops against the United States. Yep. Another victory for Putin. You know, if it were me and I was Putin and I was China, what I would be doing is making sure that I got Kim Jong-un up in North Korea on lock, and then I would be just waiting. Just wait it out. Let them exhaust their resources. Let the Americans do what they need to do, and then pounce. Sweep over Europe, sweep over Ukraine. And then with China, they already own the continent of Africa. We're already pushed. We're way too late. We are way too late. So when you hear Donald Trump, and you're going to hear him all year talk about the Western Hemisphere, you've already heard him talk about it. You probably haven't just picked up on it. That's
Oceania.
No president has ever really talked about before. Western Hemisphere, he's talking about that because there's a political guy, David Frum, he talks about the spheres of influence theory. Basically, Russia is going to own Europe. China is going to own not only Africa, but the rest of Asia. The United States will get the Western Hemisphere. So that's why Donald Trump is trying to do this Shields of the Americas kind of crap. Like, this is the new world order that we were warned about.
That's very funny that you brought that up, because a little less than a year ago, I sat down in a coffee shop with the former head of Kazakhstan's intelligence, and he basically said the same thing, that it's three legs of the same stool: China, Russia, and America. And Trump represented that third leg, and now they're going to just carve up the world, pretend to be adversaries, but really carve up the world, literally.
Oh yeah, you're dead on. I mean, we've hit a proxy state. Iran, nothing. Venezuela is also a proxy state. We threatened Cuba, also a proxy state of Russia. Nothing is happening.
Because Russia in return will get Ukraine and Europe and China, like you said, will get Africa and I suppose Taiwan. Eventually they'll take...
What happens to Ukraine, Taiwan will follow.
Yep. The next day.
Very, very assured. Very assured.
Well, we're talking about a lot of negative things, so I want to bring up a couple positive things, or at least one positive thing, and that's Lindsey Graham's bank account.
Oh,
Lindsey Graham's bank account must just be at an all-time high, and because he's invested in these different defense contractors, and he's got his money, and he's going on to the Fox Morning Show with his hats and talking about Cuba and invading Cuba and just hyping up and being the biggest cheerleader for war. My question for you is, what would you do about that if you're in Congress to stop members of Congress from investing in defense contractors? Or just, it seems wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very great way to put that. I can't remember the pledge that I signed, but I did sign a pledge earlier in 2025 that basically stated to remove the specter, even the specter of insider trading. There are numerous bills that have been proposed to limit congressional leaders from insider trading, from becoming lobbyists after service, from having things like even in a familial capacity, like, well, I'm not invested, but my wife is. Like, no, you can't have that. You can have it in a blind trust, but that's about it. And I would support any and all of those pieces of legislation. I grew up extremely poor. I know the barrier for entry to politics is extremely, extremely expensive. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. This has been really, really hard for me as a grassroots candidate. I'm very smart, but I truthfully have to be so clever to make every dollar stretch. It's really, really hard. Now, I do believe the way to correct a lot of our problems in our government is to remove a lot of the money from it, to make this a less lucrative option, So banning congressional leaders from either lobbying prior to going into office or after office is a great solution. I think additionally, when it comes to insider trading related to defense contracts, for-profit prisons, certain police agencies that utilize different types of, local, we'll say like a local contractor that, that's how those contracts work, is like some local government office has a friend of a friend, and that person sells the thing they need. And so they pay a back end amount, which is a little more expensive, and they just sell it as, oh, we're helping out a local. It's just to help another friend. I mean, you just see it all over the military. You see it all over the government, from the state and the federal level. So we also need to look at our financial auditing systems. The Department of Defense, formerly Department of Defense, now Department of War, has failed 8 audits in a row. Bringing back all of our inspectors general is absolutely imperative, that we bring back every single damn inspector general.
How about that?
Fulfill their offices with as much people as they need to get the work done. Because there is a lot of swamp, and for whatever crap that Elon Musk did last year, it cost us money. It didn't save a damn dime.
Right.
So,
and speaking of dimes, what can our viewers and readers do to support you? Where can they go? Do you need volunteers? I assume you need some little money?
Oh man, I need money. I need volunteers. I need just hardworking Americans who give a damn. And so they can go to www.jordanjherrera.com. That is my campaign website. You'll be able to find all of my social media accounts from the campaign website. I'm very excited. Today is day one. Our store is live today. So you can buy t-shirts, buttons, and stickers, yard signs, and car magnets. Buy yourself and your mom a tote bag. They look awesome. I'm going to buy my mom everything, whether she wants to or not. She's going to have to wear it. But I'm very, very excited about our store. It opened up today. It's been a long time coming. But yeah, so www.jordanjherrera.com. Please follow me online. I absolutely need volunteers. And look, out of every candidate in my current race right now in the 4th, I have been running for over a year. And I've taken $0 from corporations, $0 from any PACs, even ideological PACs that align with me. I haven't taken any of their money. I'm the only candidate in the race that can say that. I'm also the only candidate in the race with any military experience or constitutional law experience, save for one other gentleman, Mr. Russell did join our race. He just filed and just started, but I haven't really heard much from his campaign, but he has served. I believe he served 4 years a long time ago.
Well,
I can't remember.
You are also a part of the citizens impeachment, who has, I think, 120 something now, 120 something candidates. And like I said, you won't be able to change this alone. But I do know that you need to be one of the people there, and we have to get all of them. We got to get all of them in so these things can be done. So the impeachments can start, as well as the people who have a depth of knowledge of world politics, of what's going on behind the scenes, who are not addicted to money and are not bought off by people other than the American people. We need you there, and I want to give them a big shout out too, so people can go there. Citizens Impeachment, I believe it's .com as well.
Yes.
And see all of those candidates. Man, Missouri's 4th district is going to have a fighter, a really good one. We got to make sure that we take that we take you over that hump, man. We got to make sure we pull you through. Are you scared about, before we leave, we're about to leave, but are you worried about what Trump's going to do with the polling places? Do you have anything planned for how to
I think everybody needs to be concerned about federalizing elections. And just to point out how easy this is, I was in my legislative simulation when I was in college. I was in law school. I got a unanimous vote on this electoral law that I was trying to pass in my study. I was a Republican in the study, which it is so easy to be a Republican. It is the easiest thing to be is evil, truly. In my simple law, I was simply arguing that we need to get away from school violence. So I was taking all of the polling places out of schools and I was moving them to government buildings like courthouses, city hall, fire stations, police departments, places like that. But no more schools and churches because I was anti-violence. Sounded good, right? Everybody was on board. I sold it as like an anti-violence in schools and separation of church and state message.
Oh, Lord.
Wide support. Everybody agreed with it. But I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, who does not go to those polling places? Who doesn't go to courthouses? Who doesn't go to fire departments? Who doesn't go to police stations when you need to vote?
Yeah.
Not in this climate.
Not in any climate.
Anyone of color.
Yeah, see,
anyone of color does not go.
White folks don't know this. We don't go to police stations.
Exactly that.
But would you
I know that.
Would you go to a fire station?
Maybe because I grew up.
But it's less likely, I think.
Because I grew up in a suburb.
I get your point.
I grew up in a suburb where the fire station came to our neighborhood all the time. I can also tell you that for people who are suspicious of anybody else in the government that has been abusing them and that don't come through when there's a fire or that don't come through when they have somebody shot, but you see them over there at the other folks or who have grown up in a climate where they have been this, right? I promise you that that's why what he said he can, the first thing I'm like, police station. Immediately, government office. What do you mean government office? I don't want to go vote at the government office immediately. But you can get away with that offer because it's just that easy. There's a dynamic that people who don't know.
And see, like, literally, just no offense, Rick, this is not like a slam on anybody. This is what you do, like, when you're a leader. You learn how to take advantage of words. And then you press, and you're like, oh, no, I'm working against school violence, and I believe in separation of church and state. I'm a good Democrat. Here's a phrase for everybody. There is such a thing as liberal racism. Learn it. It's rampant. I see it every day.
Absolutely.
My campaign manager, I love him to death. His name is Will Thomas. He is a smart 29-year-old black man, and I tell you what, it's intentional. Here's why. I don't know anything about black communities, but I do now because of Will.
Yep.
I found a way to get educated and I'll admit this, there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. Ignorance is okay. There's something wrong with being willfully ignorant, but the antidote to ignorance is education.
Simple.
So just ask questions, and Will is teaching me how to reach communities that I've never been a part of, I never grew up in. And my friend Will, my campaign manager, he told me a story of being 7 or 8 years old and some guy lifting up his shirt, showing him his gat, thinking that this 8 or 9-year-old boy or whatever was trying to sell weed on his block and take over his space. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. He was like, yeah, but that happened to me like dozens of times. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's not America. And he said, that is America. That's the America I grew up in. And so, I mean, it's just... That's why you got to have people who are willing to be humble. I am not arrogant. I know I don't know everything. I've got to leave, what I learned at the door, empty it out, and come into a room so that way I can be filled up with the intelligence and the experience that's in that room so I can walk away with a new story rather than my own,
Yeah, you've already learned a very, very important lesson, and that's that your perspective or your perception isn't the right perspective or the right perception, because you only have your perspective and your perception.
Exactly.
You don't, I don't know how many constituents you'll have when you take office, but, there's that many perspectives and perceptions, and
Well, it always fared me well in the military. We always had the most successful teams. I always ran the most successful units, and it's because you find what people are good at, you find what they care about most, and you highlight that. You draw it out of them. You find the ways that they shine in their communities, and you give them that opportunity over and over and over and over, and you feed them full of the thing that makes them smile, right? And then when you do that, that person becomes your friend and is willing to bring that skill set in for free, and that's how you build the community. I feel like this. I had to build the community here in Missouri for me to feel safe. And so in the way that I'm moving forward, it's like, no, I built this for me. Now let's build it for us. And like, I'm not a politician. I'll tell people all day long, there's nothing special about me. I'm nothing unique. There are men in this world that inspire me, like Mark Lunsford. If you haven't heard about Jesse's Law, but please Google Jesse's Law, Mark Lunsford. This man is an inspiration. He is a truck driver and a smoker. You wouldn't think that he could get law done, but he's passed 27 laws across different states. He's awesome.
Okay. Wow.
Awesome. And it just shows you like everyday Americans can do anything. I grew up poor, and I grew up believing this. Given no other opportunity, I can do anything. And I've lived that, no matter what the job was, no matter what the mission was. You tell me that's the only way I'm going to survive. That's the only way I'm going to make a buck. That's the only way to protect my mom, my brother, my community, my church. I'm going to do that job, and I'm going to do it better than anyone else. Given no other opportunity, I can do anything. And that's what's brought me here.
I'll tell you what, man, next time we have you on, because you're going to come on again, I want you to come on another time, at least before these elections. We want to push you out there. Next time you come on, we're going to be, it'll be the pushback show.
Oh, please do.
It'll be the pushback show. We're going in. We're gonna go the other way. But this time, I have nothing but applause and praise, and I wish you much success in this campaign and anything we can do to help out. You got us, man.
Well, go buy some merch. The merch store is open, dog. Go get your shirt, your hat, your button.
I will not. I will not. Just play. Yes.
We'll see you next week. You better be wearing Jordan's gear.
I might just. You got a hat? I need a hat with a Velcro
I got
on it.
two hats. I got two.
Right. If you got one with Velcro on it, it'd be even better. I would put my patch on it too. Listen, y'all visit www.jordanjherrera.com. He needs volunteers. He needs money. He needs your support.
Can I show you something really cool?
Dude, what's up?
Oh my God. This is the coolest thing I've ever got. Oh no, where did I put it?
Oh no.
Let me grab it. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh,
he doesn't know I'm in my underwear.
What? I'm in my. You can't see what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, I'm not going to tell you neither because it's none of your business. But
it's none of your fucking business.
None of your business. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. But we need to do what we can do to support these candidates, whether or not they wear pants. It's
I mean,
gym shorts were there.
Right. Oh, you got a package?
I don't know if you guys can see this.
It keeps on going fuzzy. It won't let us read it.
Oh, let me see here.
It won't let us read it.
All right, let me just read it to you guys. All right, it says, the President's Inaugural Committee requests the honor of your presence to participate in the inauguration of Barack Obama as President of the United States of America and Joseph Biden Jr. as Vice President 2013. This was President Obama's first inauguration invite. I found this at a Webster County, Missouri chili cook-off silent auction. And I got it for a very good deal.
That is awesome.
I love my campaign manager. Like I said, he's 29 years old. He's a black man. He's so smart. He played football at Sterling College. This is for him. He's going to love this.
Oh, man.
Well,
really?
You got it as a gift for him?
Oh, yeah.
No,
I'm taking a high-definition copy for myself, but this is for him.
Bro, that is awesome, man. That's a good man right there. That is awesome. He's going to love it.
He better.
That's awesome. Oh, Herrera, you're killing them out here, man. It's beautiful, beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on the podcast. Maybe we can do a round table with a whole bunch of candidates.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, working on that as well for Political Dream. I want those citizens impeachment candidates. We got to get those names out there. Next time we'll go into the idea of nation building. We'll get some pushback on some other stuff here. This time I got nothing but love, man. Absolutely. You guys have got to go. www.jordanjherrera.com.
Please.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank
Thank you. And then he was gone. I got to go off to the website. I'm ordering a hat right now.
All right. Order me one too, man.
Well, I got to ship it, so I can only ship it to one spot. Maybe you can get your own hat. You got this.
I'll get my hat, man. Make it a shirt.
Well,
too.
I'll be wearing mine next week. You won't see me, but I mean, it'll be on my head. So
this dude is absolutely awesome, man. What do you think?
I thought it was fantastic. I'd like to find out more. I always get curious when people run for office. I wish we would have had 2 hours with him, but we really covered a lot of ground. Sorry to Lindsey Graham for calling out your bank account, but you disgust me.
Well, turtles don't have feelings.
Is he a turtle? I thought that was Mitch McConnell.
Yes, that is Mitch McConnell. Lindsey Graham is just a troll. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what kind of reptilian troll shapeshifter. Lindsey's a lot of things.
He's gross.
There's a lot of things you could use to describe him. But Jordan, there's a lot of great adjectives you could use to describe him. So I'm excited to help bring these candidates to Congress. We got to find things to do in the meantime here as well. So tune in next week for more.
More dildos. Peace.
Well, peace out.